Ora si registrerà la conferenza.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this presentation. At the first, I want to appreciate from the Dean of the Institute of Atmospheric Science and Climate, Dr. Piera, that gives me this opportunity to this lecture, and also hello, my colleague here, special Professor Mario Marcello Mioletta. During recent years, he had a lot of collaboration with me and my student. And today I want to speak about the effect of sun and dust storm in Asia and Pacific, and the effect of climate change on it. I want to show the video. Yes. At the first, I want to say about a small introduction about sand and dust storm, and then I will be focused on the wind erosion process. Then we explain about the effect of climate change on sand and dust storm, and at the following, we have the case study in Iran, because during this situation, because of the human activity and also climate change, we have a lot of sand and dust storm in my country. And at the end, I have a conclusion from my lecture. As you can see in this image, today's more than 50% of the Earth has been occurred in arid area, and 1 billion people lives in this area. And dust storms are a symptom of poor land management and a constant reminder of interaction between people, the land, and climate. As you can see in this image, we have sand and dust storm today in different continents and countries. You can see in North and South America, and also in Europe, in Pacific, Asia, and also in Australia. The global research shows more than one country 50 are affected directly by this event, and with 45 our country are classified as the source of sand and dust storm, according to the new report of the United Nations combating of desertification. Approximately every year, about 2 billion tons of dust are emitted into atmosphere. Now I want to explain about what are type of wind erosion. Wind erosion is the presence of natural transition and deposition of soil by the wind. And in a shortly explanation, I can say to you, in one our place that the soil become dry without no humidity and be loosely and finely granulated, maybe about a different situation, we have a different sand and dust storm. Look at this video, please. Sorry, I want to show the video. Yeah.
You should make a presentation modality.
No problem.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And in this video, we can derive one movement of sand and dust storm. It works? Yeah. We can see cryptation, saltation, and suspension depend on the size of the particles and also the strength of the wind. We can different sand and dust storm. As you can see in the right hand, we can see the cryptation, saltation, and suspension. The size between 0.1 and 0.15 millimeter can move in saltation movement, and the bigger particles they can move by cryptation, and the suspension occur about the particle with the diameter is less than 63 microns in the earth. As you can see in this video, when it happens, I think, okay, no problem. You can see the effect of suspension in a right hand. When the dust happen, like a vacuum cleaner, you clean the, for example, the floor, the wind can vacuum the soil from the earth. This situation may cause different effects, and sometimes the dust can move from one source to another area for deposition. And if I want to say in which places happen, it may be natural or it may be to a human activity. For example, some places like Sahara Desert or in Rub al Khali Desert in Saudi Arabia or Lut Desert in Iran, we have a natural desert. In this place, for example, if the strong wind happened, the sand and dust storm maybe occur. But some desert have been occurred in the recent year because of the human activity. Especially in developing countries, the population has been increased during recent decades, and demand of food has become increased. The increase of demand of food cause you have to use more water, more land, and unsustainable management of the land after many years cause the degradation of land. Today, a lot of degradation lands in whole of the world that in the special situation can be affect the and be a source of sand and dust storm, and also dry lake beds that in the middle of my lecture I will speak about Lake of Urumia because it's the second largest and biggest salt lake in the world. Today, because of the climate change and also human activity, most of this lake become dry, and now is the source of very heavy and density dust storm in northwest of Iran. As you can see in this move, the vacuum the soil from the earth at different place. And now, what is the effects of sand and dust storm on our environment? It should be noted we can see the effect in different situations. We can this effect on the ocean and also in biological cycles. It was interesting. About 1 week ago, I read an article about the dust storm that has been emitted from Africa and overpassing of the ocean. It was a very serious threat for a coral and marine in the ocean. And also it can be radiative balance and human activity, especially about agriculture, lands, and when it happened, because of the poor visibility, make an accident, and also if we want indirectly effect of sand and dust storm, I can pay attention to poverty and migration. When your agricultural land becomes degraded and covered with a sand dune, you cannot produce more. For this reason, you especially in a small village, in some city in my country, because today's the sand special sandstorm threaten the village and also the agricultural lands, and for this reason the stakeholder unite and put away their farm and migration to big city for making money. If I want to example according the UNCCD report that has been published in 2018, the events cost up to an estimated 5.6 billion dollar annually in Asia and Pacific region. It shows the importance of this effect. And now I want to explain to you the effect and widens of this event. I told at the first of my explanation about dust storm, there is maybe in dust storm there is a very big differences between the source and the position area. For example, in your left image, you can see the Gobi Desert blowing across China to the Yellow Sea, and the right hand you can see there is a border between Iran and also its neighbor. You can see Iraq, Syria, and also Kuwait. That, as you can see in this image with a red arrow, their source has been emitted from the neighbor, and after passing 1,000 kilometers, it affects the north of Iran. It should be noted there is a very big difference between west and southwest of Iran and also north of Iran. For this reason, we have to pay attention to this event more and more, and you can see in this image better the main hottest spot that can be oriented from dust storm that, for example, in Saudi Arabia, move to Iran, from Iran to another country, because the direction of wind also is very important. Unfortunately, my country is exactly in the corridor of the sand and dust storm, especially from the west and southwest, and sometimes it happens from the southeast of Iran. I think, okay, you can see. Now I bring for you a different example of dust storm, because during recent year, because of the climate change, it happened in Iran much and much, and in every time. Sometimes we call it uninvited guests, because suddenly in one day you can see a very density and a lot of dust storm in the sky. For example, in January, February, 2009, 2010, in different situations. For example, you can see the Saudi Arabia and dust over the Persian Gulf, that it can move after passing of the Gulf. It can enter from the Iran, and also in March. In the drying season, for example, from in the spring, at the beginning of spring, this storm start. And today, because of the climate change and the effects on it on the land surface that I explain for you later, we can experience this sand and dust storm in winter or in autumn, because in winter and in autumn we have rainy and snowy weather, and we explain no dust storm, no sandstorm, but sometimes it happens because the surface of the Earth has become too dry. For example, if we pay attention about the research have been done about 1 year ago, when we want to investigate the variation characteristic of vertical dust flux simulated by WRF model in central of Iran, we found we select two years with a heavy dust storm, and it showed it in 2015. You can see in the image of left hand in the Arabian desert, which can be identified as a storm of outside of my country, and also in 2018, not only it comes from our neighbor, but in some places was observed in the eastern station of a study area oriented from southwest of Iran. Analysis of this vertical sand flux at the 14th February of 2018 using our wind erosion model, our WRF model shows dust storm happen in the southwestern part of Arabian desert, and the dust flux reaches as a height as 2,000 microgram per meter square seconds. And in the globally, I can explain for you some example. For example, I want to. Yes, the Sahara dust is transported to Asia, North America, Europe, the Middle East, and China. And also, the dust storm happened in Central Asia, and China reached Korea, Japan, and Pacific Island, and North America. It should be noted, dust storm from China has been identified as reaching the European Alps after having been transported across the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean over 13 years and a distance over 20,000 kilometers. It shows there is a very big distance and a very big a number of days happen dust storm into sky. And the new research according United Nations report shows today Asia and Pacific region contributing about 26.8% of dust emission in the atmosphere, and every year slightly more than 500 million tons this region emitted dust storm to the atmosphere. Now I want to focus on the climate change. I think climate change is a very friendly word that not only researcher is very familiar to it. Today, the policymaker, the artist, when you open your the radio, the media, you can use climate change has been echoed, and there are a lot of effects of climate change we can see in different parts of the world. The climate change shows and a lot of research that my research showed in my country has been occurred, and it has been affected on the high temperature, about the strong of the wind in some places, and also the less of precipitation. This led to the surface of the earth become dry without no humidity. It affects on the vegetation density, and when the surface of the earth, especially in arid and semi-arid area, it should be noted we have a very big problem is about the soil, especially in my country. we have a lot of saline and alkaline soil in our earth, and in the when the climate change has happened, our situation become better, and it became worse because the decrease in humidity. You can see there water estimate in the Asia and Pacific according to 2018. And for example, you can see in most of the country in this region has been affected by a extremely high or high water stress, that the results show Asia, especially in the south, ranks high among the most threatened regions. And according to some research, a number of Persian Gulf cities will reach unlivable temperature threshold by during new decades. Also, our research in my country shows the climate change has been occur, and especially in the future, we have a very extreme about precipitation and also about temperature, and these two problems will affect water resources and may decrease the future of water reservoirs. And today, because of the drought has been occur in many cities, one mass topic has been published, but the researcher they are not believe it, is transition the water from one province to another province for make water. And also, our research showed the severity and duration of drought during the next years will be increased. We have a lot of drought with a lot of duration happen, and this drought with a longer return period will become more frequent in the dust storm in the future. If I want a very good example about, I say to you, is my country, and I want to introduce my country as a good example because of the climate change has been occur in it. For example, precipitation has become decreased, evaporation has become increased, and also temperature. As you can see, I want to run the video. What? Okay, thank you. Okay. Yes. It should be noted that Iran has been located in arid and semi-arid area. The average of precipitation is less than 150 millimeter, around 1/3 of the global average. And we have a different situation in Iran. Near the Caspian Sea in the north of Iran, we have a humidity area without a lot of forests and without no problem of water. And also in the northwest of Iran, the map of Iran should be like a cat. And you can see the head of the cat. Until on the southwest, we have a Zagros Mountains. In these two situations, we have no problem. No problem, not. A little, we cannot see, for example, sand and dust storm. But inside, in central of Iran, especially the red color, border shows you, we have a lot of desert and a lot of hot spot with a different situation. And this border shows the inside the Iran, the sand and dust storm will be happen more and more. According our research in a new search, yes, for in the map of Iran, you see the red color border, and we focus in that is named central of Iran. We for this region we selected about 36 important synoptic stations were used to select the extreme dust events, and the duration of this work was 2006 to 2018. And during this time we analyzes the density, the frequency, and also the direction of the dust storm in central Iran. For example, this slide shows about go-kart, the result of go-kart model, that the average spatial pattern of vertical dust, sand dust, that we name VDF, simulated with go-kart model, and it shows in central Iran, especially in Lut Desert and near the Kerman, in Sistan and Baluchistan province, can be internal dust, and according our findings, it reached approximately 7,000 microgram second meter square meter second in the area. Also, we investigate the dust state in different return periods. For example, 5 years, 10 years, 25 and 50 years we analyze, and it shows during the during the time has been investigate, we have a heavy density dust storm that happen especially in I press it, but it doesn't work. Yes. Okay, if I explain for you about the uh, explanation that I told you before, you can see in this video a very heavy and density dust storm have been occurred in the winter of Iran about 1 year ago. You can see a very big wall of the dust storm suddenly that it called Habub. A very density dust storm happened. When it happens, depending on the density of dust, it may be several hours to several days. The dust stay on the sky, and it make a lot of accident and also a lot of disease for a people living there. This cause of dust storm can affect on the human health, and in some places the visibility of dust storm is less than 10 meters or 5 meters sometimes, and the people cannot breathe. It can affect agricultural lands. I remember about 10 years ago we have a special disease in the northwest of Iran, in the mountain trees, that our researcher told and emphasized, because we have a lot of dust storm from our neighbor in the west, and overpassing the dust storm and inside the Iran. This theory has been occurred, but this special diseases, and they become collapse, and a lot of problem happen for these tourists, and also delay for airline. And this mask is a lie. Today's we have put everyone put a mask, but it is not the coronavirus. It's related how the dust storm have been happened about 2 years ago in the south of Iran. And at the first of my explanation, I told about the climate change and its effect, and also I emphasized our anthropogenic activity. A very good example of these events, I can say to you about the Urumia Lake that I told at the third on my slide. I told you it can be, the dry lake can be a very important source of dust storm. You can see the position of Lake Urumia at the left hand at 1990. The lake was good without any problem, but because of the after a long time, after a severe climate change, it caused reduced precipitation, and also the limitation of usable water, how caused people manage the water for water resources for agricultural lands, for industrial, by building a variety of dams. And after a lot of times, the most of this lake become dry, and today is one of the serious problem to sand and dust storm. I make a video that shows this. As you can see, in the past, we have a lot of flamingo that they lives in the lake, and it was very beautiful, not also for animals, but also the special microorganisms who live there. And but because the human activity and anthropogenic activity, it caused, I don't know. Click, yeah. And you can see today's, instead of the flight of flamingo, we have the flight of dust storm in this lake. And because it should be noted, the lake of Urumia is an ancient playa in geomorphological classification, and it has this land surface is very saline and powdery, and we have a susceptible soil to wind erosion. And because the decrease in humidity in the soil surface today is a very important source of sand and dust storm in this area. It should be noted one of the most important things I have to emphasize on it is, and we have not only sand and dust storm in these places, maybe this because it is saline. For example, when dust storm enter your eyes, it be very harmful in your eyes because you cannot, for example, if the salt enter your body and into your eyes, is very bad and harmful. And in the left image, you can see now the researcher work in the floor of the display for control of the sand and dust storm. And in these places, we have also sand storm and also dust storm. It depends on the strength of the wind and also the size of the articles. If I want to tell you about the research I have done during recent year, I think from 10 years ago, I have been focused on sand and dust storm. I think this is my interest. I work to this problem because when I was child, I live in a dry city in my country. The name is Mesbahzadeh. It's too dry, and when I was child, I saw a very difficult and heavy dust storm. For example, it was at the noon, and suddenly the dust storm happened, and the sky became completely dark, and we have to turn on the lamp. And it became very surprising why it happened, why. And today's because to answer my question, I have done a lot of project on it, especially with very good cooperation of my dearest professor, Professor Marcello. That my experience during these years show if we want to investigate, exactly investigate of the sand and dust storm, we could not just pay attention and focus on meteorological data and also satellite imagery. Yes, they are very good. They are very powerful equipment to recognize of the sand and dust storm. But if we want to exactly source our dust storm, we have to pay attention and complete this method to another method. That the step-by-step method that have been suggested by Professor Ahmadi, the agent of United Nations in the past. We use this method because we want to find in the direction of source site, and also we finding the palette of source site. Yesterday I went with Dr. Piera for investigate and for her work, and she explained about the equipment and the method that she had used for her work. And today, tracer elements and also electronic microscope is very useful because if we want to recognize the source, we have to the source of the dust storm, and also we have to recognize the position of this dust storm. After we analyze the chemical, the material, we can compare, for example, in which land unit this dust storm have been occurred. Because like our body, our nature has a different documentation for protection. In some places, we have a sandy soil under the surface of the earth. In another place, we have alkali and saline soil. We cannot use the simple and the same documentation for different disease. For this reason, I, in the future, with contribution of my colleague that now they attend here and also in my country, I will pay attention to specific topic about sand and dust storm. I think where there is a big gap in our research in Iran or in the world, not difference. It shows we are not exactly information about the duration of sand and dust storm will stay in the sky. For example, we don't know how many hours or several days they can stand in the sky. Or another part is control of sand and dust storm that I hope we can done it in the future. I start this, but it's continue, and I hope with your good cooperation with my another colleague, we can done it. Many thanks for your attention, and I hope in the future we can control these events. And now you can see some photo of desert area. When I make this PowerPoint for my lecture, suddenly I think with myself, because my interest is about sand and dust storm, I introduce my country just dry in arid and semi-arid area. But it should be noted, although we have 2/3 of my country has been located in arid and semi-arid area, but we have a very beautiful like Damovan Mountain, Shiraz University, and also you can see the Zagros Mountain, and a lot of these very different places that they are so beautiful. And welcome to Iran, and but especially in spring, not in dry season, because in dry season maybe you experience sand and dust storm, but you can enjoyable, and I hope the best wishes for you. Thank you so much. If you have any question, I put with your colleague, I can answer to you. Thank you so much. Okay. If you want to change, I'll sit. I can sit there.
Okay, we have to stop. Okay. Please.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting presentation, and rich of different aspects that can be of interest for many